name's Alicia Staley, and I'm actually going to talk a little bit about the patient perspective on social media today. Ed, you gave a nice overview of what it is from sort of the institutional healthcare side, but I'm going to talk about what it's like as a patient engaging in social media. So I like to call the title of my talk, All You Need Is a Hashtag and a Dream. So anybody from New York State probably recognizes that slogan from the New York State Lottery, all you need is $1 and a dream. But in Twitterverse, all you need is a hashtag. A little bit about my journey and what brings me here to the stage today. I'm actually a 3-time cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with cancer for the first time when I was 19 years old as a sophomore at Syracuse University. I was actually studying aerospace engineering. My plan was to be an astronaut. So I got a little derailed, unfortunately. Took me about 3 years to get through my cancer treatment. I did stay in school while I was going through all the chemo, radiation, and surgery. But I was fortunate enough to have roommates that supported me basically through the entire journey. I had a wonderful family and friends that rallied around me and helped me stay on track to finish my engineering degree at Syracuse in 5 years. And incidentally, half my class graduated with me on the 5-year plan just for different reasons. But, well, they were doing a different kind of cocktail. I did very well for about 10 years. After I graduated, I moved to Boston, Mass. Was fairly healthy. Got involved with the Tufts Medical Center, the cancer center there. They began following me. And because I had been so young when I was treated with radiation, they knew that I was at a higher risk for the possibility of breast cancer. So they started me screening mammograms when I was 27 years old. And I had a mammogram on April Fool's Day in 2004 that showed breast cancer. So my first message to all of you is never have a mammogram on April Fool's Day, because that just doesn't work. Anyways, I like to show these. These are my before pictures. I like to tell everybody. These are actual scans of mine that picked up the initial cancer, and some of these you can see how very faint the cancer was. And if you look very closely at the slide, it'll actually say, it says Museum of Science on it. I donated all my scans to the Museum of Science in Boston when they were looking for somebody that would step forward and share scans that they had to promote the importance of medical imaging and screening. So I basically have had every possible screening exam that you can think of: X-ray, CAT scan, MRI, PET scan, the whole works. So they're all. So if you ever feel like visiting my scans, you can visit the Museum of Science in Boston. But it was actually very funny on the opening night of this display. They actually had my full body X-ray, so I sort of walked by, and sort of interesting to see your own skeleton sort of hanging out there. But I quickly moved on. In 2007, unfortunately for me, my breast cancer did return, and about 6 years ago to the day of this week, I made my decision to have a double mastectomy to move forward and try to put this behind me once and for all. And I had a double mastectomy in January 2008 with no reconstruction. Over the 20 plus years that I've been dealing with this, I feel that there's 3 phases of a cancer journey. Your immediate diagnosis and treatment is this very intense time period. There's a time right after your diagnosis where things seem to settle down a little bit. You might get into the groove with trying to get back into your life, and then you step into what everybody's goal is: long-term survivorship. And what I've found that long-term survivorship is really where some very unexpected and unknown issues begin to crop up. The longer you live, the more likely you're going to deal with some significant side effects from the treatments that you had to keep you alive. So mark your calendars. This was a very big day in Twitter history. I'm surprised they didn't call me.
That's right.
on their IPO day. But on March 30th, 2008, I signed up for Twitter at the advice of my friends in Boston. I was going through significant rehab at the time from my double mastectomy. I was on medical leave from work, and I had all these friends that got just signed into Twitter. I see all these great people that you can connect with. I'm thinking, it's just another way to tweet out that my friends are going out on the town, kind of thing. And so I jumped. I signed up, and I think I signed up immediately. I did a search on cancer survivors, and I was shocked to see the number of profiles that came back. Cancer survivor, I'm living strong, 3-time cancer survivor, 2-time cancer survivor, 5-time cancer survivor. I mean, there are people out there in their profile actively identifying themselves as cancer survivors, which you don't walk around in public with a little tag on your back that says, oh, hey, 3-time cancer survivor, that's great. But here on Twitter, on a very public platform, people were self-identifying themselves as having gone through this, and I just thought it was amazing. After finding all these cancer survivors, I did a quick search. I did breast cancer, Hodgkin's, and it popped up a number of women that in their profile had written Hodgkin's survivor, breast cancer survivor. And I reached out to a woman in California, and within 30 minutes of being on Twitter, I basically had found my new best friend, who was on the West Coast, who basically had a parallel life to me. She was in USC, sophomore in college when she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's, and now dealing with cancer. So in an instant, I like to say Twitter shrinks the world. That really shrunk the world for me. The fact that I could be on a platform and in 30 minutes find somebody that essentially I had been looking for all throughout this journey was pretty amazing. Obviously, as I've continued on Twitter, I've sort of morphed into all these other sort of different digital platforms. My blog is awesomecancersurvivor.com. I run a Twitter chat called BCSM, which I'll talk about a little bit more. LinkedIn, Google, plus YouTube, the healthit.gov site, all these different places where I interact or write about the cancer experience. 85% of patients agree that social media has played some role in a healthcare decision, so I'll let that sink in for a second. And think about how, maybe as a healthcare institution, you might want to begin shaping some strategies or coming up with some communication plans that actually consider this a very important player in decision making. And again, patients are underutilized resources. This is a quote from Charles Safran from Harvard. Basically, patients are the most underutilized resource, and they have the most at stake. It's just a great way, it's a great mindset to think about when you're dealing or shaping strategies that are focused on patient experience and patient satisfaction. So let's talk a little bit about finding communities. What are communities? Where do you find them? Who builds them? Basically, communities are everywhere these days. They come in all shapes and sizes. I challenge you to, next time you're on Amazon.com, to type in a health condition. Type in diabetes, type in breast cancer. Scroll past the books that they present you down to the comment section or the discussion areas, and you will see some very vibrant patient communities talking about breast cancer topics, talking about what drugs were you using, talking about the side effects that they're dealing with. They're on these different, they have no other outlet. They're looking for information, and they'll go to something like Amazon and leave a comment there because they don't know where else to turn. So same thing on LinkedIn, a very professionally based networking service. Type in breast cancer in the groups, type in diabetes, type in a rare disease, type in lung cancer. You will be shocked at the number of patient-focused or health disease-oriented communities that are on a platform like LinkedIn, where typically people who are looking for jobs or networking for a professional reason, are proudly displaying that they're in a breast cancer group or they're, a person living with diabetes. I mean, the conversations around communities are changing, and the amount of information that people are willing to share about their personal condition is. which leads me to the community that I built on Twitter with my friend Jody Shoger. We came up with this idea and essentially modeled it after the healthcare social media Twitter chat that had been very successfully running on Sunday nights for about a year before we launched our Twitter chat. So basically, breast cancer social media is a virtual support group for us. At a time when I was looking at Tufts Medical Center for help in support groups, they were basically graduating longer-term members and sort of sending me back out into the world when I thought at the point where I needed the most help, I wasn't getting it from the support groups at the hospital. There just wasn't enough resources to take the load of these long-term survivors. So Jody and I had talked for a long time. Is it possible to build a support group virtually? And this was our experiment. So it's a community based on a hashtag. Our first Twitter chat was July 4th, 2011. Like I said in the morning session, we picked that holiday thinking everybody would be out watching the fireworks, so if it bombed horribly, we could blame the holiday. But actually 75 people showed up, which at that very point we realized we were onto something. If people were willing to, at 9 o'clock on July 4th, be willing to sit down at their computer and talk with us about breast cancer, there was a need for an outlet like this. Here's just a quick snapshot of all the Twitter avatars of some people that had participated in a recent chat. So we track stats and analytics about who joins us, who's talking with us, and just I like to see it like this because it sort of gives you a visual of who's participating in our chat. And
I made it.
Dr. Seville is
at the bottom.
here, so,
Yay!
I didn't realize that until I said it. So anyway, yeah. And then just quickly to sort of wrap up, why has BCSM been so successful? We've been very consistent from the beginning, and that was one of the things that we talked about, or that was mentioned last night in the keynote about consistency and commitment. We basically run our Twitter chat every Monday night, with the exception of, I think, Christmas, the week of Christmas. Jody and I share the workload of this Twitter chat. We've also brought in Dr. Deanna Tai, who's a surgical oncologist based in California, and she helps us vet the topics and basically make sure that the information that we're sharing in a Twitter chat is addressed sort of with a critical eye, if you will. And we really credit that with a lot of our success. What can AFQ learn about community building from BCSM? Information is the currency of patient communities. So patient communities trade information. That's what sort of drives our community. So like I said earlier today, some people trade baseball cards, patient communities trade information and experience. And that's just really what drives us. And then our top 5 things that we've learned from running BCSM is you gotta be consistent. You have to have a commitment. Once you start this, you can't stop because there's people out there that really, really need this Twitter chat right now. You have to be transparent, absolutely have to show empathy and be respectful of the community that comes in because people are coming at us from all different perspectives, all different stages in the disease, and we just have to keep that in mind. So, there's my contact information. One thing actually that I do want to share that wasn't, because it's so new, it wasn't on the slide deck.
Breaking news. It's
It's
breaking news.
It was breaking news. But the BCSM Twitter chat is really the first hashtag community to evolve into a 501c3. So as of this coming Monday, the paperwork will be filed to have the BCSM community essentially become a 501c3. So we've taken a hashtag conversation on Twitter, built a community around it so much so that there is now a need for us to build a 501c3 to essentially extend this movement. So we like to say we did everything in reverse. Usually you have a 501c3 come to Twitter and try to build a community or conversation, but we built the conversation and then have essentially morphed into a 501c3, so I'm really excited.
That's great, congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.